What is up, you guys? Welcome to another video. My name is Arman. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm a Toronto-based deep and progressive house DJ and producer, and this YouTube channel is aimed at beginner and intermediate level DJs. It's full of lessons and tutorial videos to help you bring your mixing skills up to the next level. I hope everyone is still keeping safe out there amid this COVID crisis. It's a crazy time, and most importantly, I hope everyone's taking the social distancing rules really seriously. And that means you're spending more time at home. You've got more time to do things like practice your mixing. In my case, I've got more time to write music. I'm working on an album for this year, and also to be able to make more YouTube videos for you guys. I'm going to be trying to post once or twice a week, more frequently than usual. So check back here often or hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. All right, today's video, I'm going to share with you my top 3 tips on how to improve your mixing and your sets to really take them from kind of an intermediate level sound up to more of an advanced professional sound. So it's going to be quite simple. We're just going to walk through these 3 tips, and if you focus on these 3 areas, I think you're going to find quite quickly, within a few weeks to a month or 2 of practice, that your mixes are really going to improve. So let's jump right into it. All right, tip number 1, always mix in key. Use the Camelot Wheel system of mixing in key for when you're getting started until you learn to do it by ear. I've already done a detailed, in-depth video on the Camelot Wheel. I'll put the link to that video in the description below, but I'm still going to show you guys right now an example of an out-of-key mix and an example of an in-key mix. Now, I don't mean you have to mix within the same key all the time, but you can key shift between different keys, but you do need to move to different keys that are comparable to the key that you're currently playing the song. So that's what the Camelot Wheel does. It's a visual aid, it's a graphic aid that shows you the moves that you can make from different keys to go into other different keys when you play the next song. And you can hear from the example I'm about to give you how bad an out-of-key mix can sound. And when you do a 90-minute mix and you're performing that at a club or you're posting it online for your listeners to hear, you're going to notice that if you have no out-of-key mixes, the whole set is just going to come off as way more professional, smooth, and polished. All right, tip number 2, always mix slowly and very smoothly. This may sound like something kind of obvious, but it's not always readily apparent to beginner DJs, especially when you're a bit nervous about pulling off the mix, your beat matching isn't perfect, and maybe you're kind of just trying to hurry to usher out the old song and get rid of it if you think the mix doesn't sound that great. And this is going to be more helpful when you're also mixing in key, because the mixes are going to sound good, so you're going to want to keep that mix. In terms of the 2 songs playing live at the same time, you're going to want to keep it going for a longer time because A, it sounds good, and B, that makes it harder for the listener to tell that you're currently mixing the new song in. So you can see that the way these skills develop, they really start to compound and snowball, right? So you're mixing in key, your mixes sound good, and you're able to more easily pull off longer mixes. And I'm going to show you an example of, a mix that I would say is a little too quick and too abrupt. And then after that, I'll show you an example on the turntables of a nice, long, smooth, buttery mix. And I'm going to zoom right in on the EQs on my mixing board, whereas normally I show you the entire overhead view of the turntables and the mixer. I'm just going to hone right in on the mixing channels on the mixer so that you can see precisely how small and how slow the movements are that I'm making on the EQs. I also recommend mixing by EQs, not just with volume faders. I've also done a video specifically on how to mix using your EQs. That's already up on my YouTube channel. I'll post a link to that below as well. Let's check out an example on the decks. Alright guys, and tip number 3. Now that I'm back at my desk, I don't need to be at the turntables for this tip. Tip number 3 has to do with music selection. And quite simply, it's weed out any strange or outlier tracks. Tracks, and what I mean by that is tracks that do not quite fit into the genre or the style of the rest of the set. Sometimes you've got that one really interesting, cool song that you want to play, and sure, save that for another set, but don't put it into a set where it's not cohesive with the rest of your sound. So this requires you to spend a little bit of time going through your music library before you go and try and record a mix or perform a set in a club. I'm not suggesting by any means to pre-record a set or even pre-arrange your set, right? You want to have some versatility and be able to adapt live while you're playing based on the time of the set, the energy level in the room, what the crowd is doing. I'm not saying pre-arrange your songs. I'm just saying go through the music folder. Say, you're going to have 20, 30 songs that you're thinking of playing that night, but you have an hour set, so realistically you're only going to play maybe 13 to 15 songs, but you're going to be pulling them from a certain selection, right? That's typically how it goes when you're DJing and you've collected new music that you want to perform. So you're going to look through that music, listen to it carefully, and pull out any songs out of that folder or that playlist that just don't quite belong. So in other words, don't try and force in a song into a set just because you really like that song. You've got to keep your eye on the prize, which is the big picture. How does the whole set present start to finish in terms of its sound? So that was something I struggled with when I was starting out. I had a few songs that were really interesting and really cool and really unique, but they just didn't quite jive with the rest of the set. And I think ultimately I didn't present as good of a set because that song kind of stuck out a little bit. The mix of that song had to be a little bit more abrupt. So that's just kind of a piece of set design advice, but it really does go a long way. All right, so to recap, guys, number 1, make sure you are always mixing in key. Number 2, go for long, smooth, buttery mixes. Number 3, get rid of those weird songs from your playlists that might clash in the set and do not fit your overall arc of your story. If you follow those 3 tips and focus on those for the next few weeks, couple months, I promise you your mixing is really going to take off. Alright guys, I hope that's been helpful for you. Please hit the subscribe button to stay tuned and look out for another video soon next week. I look forward to seeing you back here on the channel. Cheers.